Tony, welcome along today. This time round with our Resource Revolution Thought Leader series, we're looking at the relevance of waste and what it plays in the manufacturing sector. And I know Unilever has made great strides in its waste ambitions. Already in the UK and Ireland, you're at zero waste to landfill for your manufacturing operations. And your global zero waste to landfill target you've actually brought forward by 5 years. What's been the driver behind all this?
I think the most important place to start would be with the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan, and where we set out a clear objective around sustainable growth. Waste is one element of that programme. We've made fantastic strides so far, as you say, and I think we want to put positive pressure on ourselves to keep that momentum, to keep ourselves stimulated. And with the progress we've made so far, we started in the UK, we developed a process which we're now copying, and we've got real belief that we can continue to copy that process, accelerate the pace. And we don't have all the answers at the moment, but you know, we really do have a belief that we can achieve that target by the end of 2015.
And I know for you, the real value really is in driving waste up the hierarchy in terms of getting better resource efficiency. Can you elaborate a bit more on the work you're doing in this area now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, first of all, absolutely we want to generate less waste. By generating less waste at source, so reducing the waste at source, that's where we really see the value. So if we're not creating the waste, the pull on the natural resources, of course, reduces because we're generating more from less. And of course, we know we're still going to generate waste, but you know, we'll be creative and inventive about what we do on reuse, recycle, and energy recover as a last resort for us.
I know you're now working with your suppliers and service providers to incentivise them to build waste reduction into their own operations. Do you think waste companies can add value to their own business proposition by offering perhaps more of a consultancy service going forward?
Yeah, if we go back to the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan, I think importantly we know that across all of those 50 challenging targets we set across ourselves, and waste being one of them, we can't achieve that without partnerships, and those partnerships could be with suppliers, it could be with other professional organisations such as universities, professional groups. And specifically on the waste company part, I think that the companies that are really looking up the hierarchy and really looking at the long-term partnerships with their customers are certainly going to be best placed into the future to generate long-term partnerships and to show their real value that they can add to their customer base.
And if we look at the UK, Unilever has really consolidated its waste management operations across your sites. You used to deal with about 60 to 70 waste management companies. Now you deal with just one. I mean, what's the rationale behind that?
Yeah, by reducing our supplier base in the UK specifically, and we've done that elsewhere, I think the importance is when you look at sharing the learnings across our sites, it becomes much easier because you've got the same people going from site to site, and we of course want to draw upon their experiences too. But I think that, you know, from an environmental perspective and from an environmental improvement perspective, that's the big benefit we've seen. But also, if you think about the administrative side of the business, to have 60 to 70 touch points as opposed to one, to have, you know, one negotiation on an annual or a biannual basis as opposed to 60 or 70 obviously makes quite big improvements in terms of you know, resources we allocate to those activities. So, you know, the wider business perspective is also really showing good dividends, and you know, from a financial perspective, to put that entire contract into one place become very attractive, and you know, the companies really wanted to win that
And presumably, by having just one touch point now, as you call it, that must lead to greater transparency, I'd imagine, with your waste management operations, tighter auditing of waste flows. And how does this benefit Unilever in terms of your wider CSR agenda?
Yeah, of course. By having the much fewer touch points, the auditing has become a lot easier, a lot more consistent. And we know the organisation we're using is a big organisation. They have also their processes which we can learn from ourselves. And again, we spoke earlier about copying the process elsewhere, and I think also we're always looking to iteratively improve. So if we see something we like in a different country, we can also retrospectively improve that back across the UK, for example.
And I know if we look at the waste hierarchy in the circular economy, as a company you're looking to optimise material use, particularly in packaging. Are you looking to source any of that material from your own waste streams?
In the area of circular economies, it's certainly, along with most other big organisations, a big area of focus for us at the moment. And absolutely, we'd be looking at closing the loops wherever it makes good sense environmentally and economically. I think we've got some nice examples probably in our own tea plantations in Kenya and Tanzania, where we actually reuse the waste that the agricultural waste that we generate as part of the process. We use that as a biomass in the boilers. We actually use that for heating, for drying of the tea leaves, and I think that's a nice example. If I come back to your point on packaging, it's incredibly more complex, of course, than using something like agricultural waste. We've got a lot of plans in place. A lot of them have actions which are underway at the moment. But yeah, at this stage, it's a little early to speak around some of that.
And I know you touched upon on our earlier talk around designing waste out during the production process by really looking at how your manufacturing operations are built. Could you say anything about that at this point?
Yeah. So if you look at our factory base, our manufacturing base, one of the most important points to reduce waste at source is to look at the best practice from one factory to another, and I think this has probably brought the most benefits. So when we look at ice cream factories, for example, we'll look at who the best performer in the ice cream category is, and understand why they're the best performer, and look at what we can copy across to the other factories. And typically it's usually smart engineering, good engineering design, which can be copied. And we do have a philosophy of invent once, deploy everywhere. So that's probably the biggest single copying we've got across in terms of reduction at source. And we've got a real active program across all of our sites to make sure we transfer that knowledge. So not just share the knowledge, but actually transfer that knowledge.
And in terms of closing the loop further, would Unilever ever consider investing in its own waste infrastructure?
I think we wouldn't rule it out, and we do have some examples. So we have some sites where we've got anaerobic digestion on site because it makes good sense for that location. We've also got examples of off-site anaerobic digestion local to the site because, again, within that local infrastructure it made best sense. If you look at some of the emerging advanced thermal technologies, again, I think it would be a case-by-case basis we would look at, and as technology improves, as prices for that technology reduce, I think we would keep an open eye on that, never straying away from our point of reducing at source, of course. We're unlikely to ever get to total zero waste, although it would be nice. So I would say we wouldn't rule it out, but take a case-by-case basis on that one.
And in terms of our own research around the circular economy and attitudes among businesses, it certainly seems that it's manufacturers that are the ones that are ahead of the curve in terms of more holistic life cycle thinking, and they are the ones seeking to engage most with product designers. Would you agree with this?
Well, speaking for manufacturing, certainly across the board, for sure you can read media at the moment, and it's it's high on the agenda, it's high on what's being communicated, so it's certainly up there. I think we're beginning to hear across other areas also, but yeah, manufacturing's certainly leading, and it's pushing up on the agenda all the time.
And lastly, if we can just look at the consumer, I know obviously sustainable consumption is a huge area now that Unilever's concentrating on. Yeah. It accounts for a lot of your impact if you look across the value chain. Yeah. How do you intend to engage the consumer on attitudes around closing the loop in the circular economy? Because really they're going to be crucial, aren't they, to this as well? Yeah,
again, there's a lot of activity in that area, not specifically under my activity list, but a lot of activity in the area, important to us. It's set out very nicely within our sustainable living plan, and again, if you look at the circular value chain concept, if you don't include the consumer within that, then the chain is broken. And of course, we know we play a pivotal part on I think educating and inspiring the consumer to want to join the journey and to want to do better with our products. So we accept our responsibility on that one.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Tony, for joining us today.
Okay. My pleasure.